Once upon a moonlit night, in the heart of the forest, lived a family of owls. Mr. Hoot, the patriarch, his wife Mrs. Feather, and their two owlets, Woo and Wooette. Mr. Hoot, a nocturnal creature by nature, worked the night shift, which for him meant hunting for dinner. Mrs. Feather, on the other hand, was a day owl. She enjoyed her daytime naps, which, as you can imagine, created quite a hoot in their treehouse. One day, Mr. Hoot came home from a long night of hunting, ready to catch some shut-eye. As he nestled into his nest, he found Mrs. Feather wide awake, in the middle of her day cleaning. The rustling of leaves and twigs had Mr. Hoot tossing and turning, unable to sleep a wink. In the midst of this, Woo and Wooette, the two mischievous owlets, decided to start a game of who can hoot the loudest. The cacophony of hoots and hollers echoed through the forest, adding to their father's sleepless frustration. Mr. Hoot, with feathers ruffled, finally lost his cool and hollered, "Can't an owl get some peace and quiet around here?" The next night, Mr. Hoot had a brilliant idea. He decided to switch roles with Mrs. Feather. He would stay home and clean the nest during the day while Mrs. Feather would hunt at night. Unfortunately, Mrs. Feather was not much of a hunter. She would hoot at the top of her lungs, scaring away all the prey. Meanwhile, Mr. Hoot, trying to clean, ended up getting tangled in a spider's web, looking more like a feather duster than an owl. The owlets, witnessing their parents' fiasco, couldn't help but hoot with laughter. "Wooette," the younger of the two said between giggles, "Dad, you look like a mummified mouse." "Woo," the elder added, "and Mum, you're supposed to catch the mice, not scare them away." In the end, Mr. Hoot and Mrs. Feather, feathers ruffled and pride a little bruised, decided that they were better off sticking to their original roles. They realized that despite the chaos and the noise, they loved their hoot of a family. So what's the takeaway from this owl tale of hilarity? Well, it's that every family, be it human or owl, has its quirks and chaos. But it's these very quirks that make a family unique and fill the home, or in this case, the treehouse, with laughter and love. And remember, when life gets a little too noisy, don't lose your cool. Instead, ruffle your feathers, shake it off, and hoot with laughter. Because at the end of the day, it's all just a hoot.